Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the Bank Plus studio.
Check it out.
The Out of Bounds Show is driven by the all-new Nissan Pathfinder at Cannon Nissan in Jackson. Of course, the Nissan manufacturing plant 5 minutes from here. The all-new Nissan Pathfinder at Cannon Nissan in Jackson. The Out of Bounds Show is also brought to you by Tito's Vodka. Enjoy an ice-cold Tito's and soda with an orange late this afternoon when you get off of the golf course. And you talk about all the craziness and the disruption within the game of golf. We welcome in our friend Matt Ginella, Golf Insider, the FirePitCollective.com, video, podcasting, and the like. And Matt Ginella joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Matt Ginella, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Bo. I assume you just want to talk about the U.S. Open next week?
No. I got up this morning and I listened to you and Alan and the third dude. I listened to the whole podcast before the show. And it was educational, crazy day in golf, LIV, PGA, European to a certain extent, all merge under one roof. We've been talking to you about this for over a year with Phil and Liv and Alan Shipnuck, your colleague, writing the book, and now the Liv book coming out. But so at the end of the day, this is going to be better. I know y'all mentioned several times that the PGA's model and the Liv's model was not sustainable. Now, how it all comes about and so on is messy and all of that. Now that you've had almost 24 hours to digest it, what is your one big takeaway from the merger, Matt?
It's just that it just seems like the tour, from the word go, have handled this in a way that just seems to be a calamity of errors. And I from the minute Jay Monahan, sort of started saying, look, we can't compete with the money, he started competing with the money. They made fun of the no-cut events. They went to no-cut events, the limited fields. Saying that tour players who go there will never have an option to come back. Now they have an option to come back. It's just been a series of bad communication, miscommunication, seemingly chasing, resolutions that it just looks bad. It looks bad from the top down. I like I said in the podcast, if you're Rory or you're Tiger or you're Hideki Matsuyama or you're Justin Rose or you're Ricky Fowler or you're guys who got talked into not going to LIV and passing on the money, and we're told that this is where you're going to have a home and a place, and they can't come back, and they're the enemy, and you guys are the loyalists and the purists, and we're moving on. Meanwhile, jacking up the prices of the tournament. It just looks bad. The whole thing looks bad. I am glad that it might come to an end. I'm glad that the discourse and the confusion and the messiness and the craziness of them versus us can come to an end at some point. But as I said in the podcast, I've just been so disenchanted with the whole world of professional golf at this point that the official world golf rankings not ranking people who are playing golf in the world just made no sense to me either.
I agree with that.
It's just the whole thing is just a big giant dumpster fire, and I hope they can actually get some sort of resolution and move on. But in the meantime, like, the majors to me are the majors, and the majors were major, and they've got to sort it out, and then we'll see where it all ends up.
All right, for our listeners, again, the PGA LIV European Tour merging under one umbrella. Piff is the player, and evidently only 4 people knew. Incredible. Jay Monahan, who Matt Ginella is referencing, right now, I don't know what he is going to be going forward, but commissioner of the PGA, did the deal with Yasir or something, and then here we are. So Matt, do you think Jay Monahan keeps his job?
No, I don't. Again, I think there's so many. The devil is literally in the details here as this all sort of flushes out. I just think he's lost the trust of his, of the people he works for. So I don't know how that looks going forward. I just feel like there's going to be some sort of mass cleansing of tour leadership in some way, shape, or form, over time. Right now, he's probably being used as the guy who has to take the brunt of all the backlash. That's what he's getting paid for. But at some point, they need a new face to whatever it is going forward. I just don't see how or why it stays Jay Monahan, given the calamity of errors that we just discussed, and then some, and the lack of trust of his players.
Do you think he got a kickback on this thing?
I have no idea. I mean, would I be surprised? No. This is all about money. This is all about money. The whole thing is just one big giant, business decision. And I think there are people and loyalists and purists who wanted to believe that the PGA Tour was something that it wasn't. It's kind of like Phil Mickelson. We wanted to believe Phil was something that he isn't. Tiger Woods. We want to believe that these guys are something that they're not. And, they're just golfers, and the PGA Tour is just a business. And the reality is that there's all the sponsors, most of the sponsors and a lot of the money being thrown around in and around the tour was already had ties to Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
So there was kind of this veil of hypocrisy that it was like, they're bad and we're good. I've said all along, there was no good guy in this fight. And that was part of my problem as someone who's covered the game for 30 years, losing my interest in sort of the week to week, PGA Tour stuff, especially when you have a watered down product, a diluted product. I mean, the PGA, the Players Championship didn't even have the defending champion. And that's why I think after the first 2 majors, we saw that the tour was going, the Brooks Koepka is the best player in the world. And he's not on the PGA Tour. All the bad guys, all the interesting guys kind of went to LIV. So you're left with this group of, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, really nice guys. Not very interesting, not very compelling.
No.
Not good TV.
No.
Tiger's gone. Phil's over there. Something had to give.
Okay. So Matt Ginella, y'all have to check out his site and his colleagues, the firepitcollective.com. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. I know people have been talking about this for the last 24 hours, but can you imagine what Rory McIlroy is thinking, leaving $200 million or whatever on the table, and Hideki Matsuyama $300 million, and dropping a tournament in Japan, and Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and Ricky Fowler all dropping $100+ million on the table now that the 2 entities have, or 3, whatever, but the 2 entities have merged, Matt?
Yeah, Tiger 8, Rory 4, Hideki $300 million, and then Ricky, 50, 75, Justin Rose 50. That's what I've heard. I mean, it's not just them; it's their agents, lawyers, wives and family, all going, "What just happened?" So, and again, I'm anxious to see how this all works out, because it's not yet a done deal. I just think this is going to get a little worse before it gets better. I mean, I can only imagine what's going on, in some of these meetings and phone calls. I mean, at the end of the day, the PGA Tour and what they had done and how they had ramped up purses and some of the sponsors that were going to leave and not re-up and not meet the more investment to get elevated events or events in general with a watered down field. The tour had painted themselves into a corner, and with the Saudi backing, with the PIF fund and the money that they had, this was a stare down, and I think the tour was forced to blink.
Oh man. Okay, so, but you do agree that it's better in the long run, even though it's messy and it's a group, well, that most of America's federal government, like you said, corporations, is already doing business with the Saudis. In the long run, neither model was sustainable, as you and Alan and so on were talking about.
Yeah.
What okay. Yeah. Once this thing shakes out, right, and they figure it out, it's a better model for pro golf going forward, Ginella?
Yeah, I think that was always, I think we talked about it the last time. I think the hope was always like, can there be a better product at the back end of this disruption? Can there be an opportunity for, and I think that's where we're at right now, is an opportunity to sort of, start over, reorganize, introduce the team component. I always said after the Zurich Classic went to those two-man teams, it's like, why aren't these smaller events also adopting the idea of a team event and have a simultaneous team tournament coinciding with the PGA Tour schedule? And then at the end of the year, there can be whatever that is, that the FedEx Cup, and also like a team component where, the final four of the teams are also competing simultaneously, best ball of the twos. Like, I just think there's an opportunity to do more and have more fun with the week-to-week, presentation of what is professional golf.
No doubt.
Instead of, you know what I mean? Instead of just like 72 holes, cut after 36, and we crown a winner. Like, what we love the weeks of the match play, or what love the weeks of the AT&T, celebrity program. Some people love it, some people don't. But there's anything other than just the same thing over and over again.
Right.
And I think this is that opportunity to say, okay, there are franchises, there are teams, there are simultaneous events happening. It's almost like, can we have like a little mini Ryder Cup or a little mini March Madness happening on a regular basis on the PGA Tour? That's all possible now. So yeah, in the end, where we are in 2024, 2025, this time, 2 years from now, I think we have a chance to have a much better week-to-week product and presentation of professional golf. I do.
He was with the Golf Channel, Sports Illustrated, now the FirePitCollective.com, Matt Ginella, Golf Insider, on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Let's go to the Ryder Cup. Now that they're all back together somewhat, do you see an opportunity for Phil Mickelson to be a captain, or Sergio? But let's go with Phil. Do you see an opportunity for Phil Mickelson to be a captain on the Ryder Cup team at some point?
I do. I would not have said that, a week ago. But I do now. Now I think anything's possible. I mean, at this point, again, it's business, right? So what would Phil at Bethpage, Ryder Cup captain, what would that mean? Past, PGA champion, like how? That's just going to sell more tickets, get more interest. At the end of the day, all of this, that's what this is just proves. It's just a business. And, anything, look at any sport, you're rooting for Celtics versus Lakers because Heat Nuggets is not going to be as many. The NBA is rooting for Celtics Lakers because the Heat Nuggets not going to get as many eyeballs.
Right.
You're looking for Alabama, USC, or whatever. That's what sports are. You're looking for more eyeballs and bigger business and more ticket sales and more interest.
Okay, so I just can't imagine what Rory and them are doing. I don't know. I'm not legally. I don't know if there's a way for them to sue. I don't know who they would sue. I mean, I guess the PGA, but I'm not sure how that looks.
Well, I think if they give Rory a franchise, and Tiger a franchise, and and Hideki a franchise, and they give I think there's ways that they can potentially, compensate them and make things good again. I think at the end of the day, the reality is, and this is why I think, Monahan and Hurley and Jimmy Dunn ultimately did it. I think there was going to be some disclosure stuff coming out in the impending court cases that was not going to look good when Monahan didn't have the original conversation with the PGL and sit down with these people and offer his membership opportunities to make money. That's a problem. That was going to be a problem. I think a lot of the big names in the tent poles of the game had their phones confiscated. They were being deposed. I don't think anybody wanted a lot of that stuff coming out, some of the back channel conversations that were happening there. So, and in order to keep funding the elevated events and to keep the tour going at the pace it's going in a post-Tiger era, this was their only option. So after Rory and some of the loyalists get over the sting of what's just transpired, I think in big picture, they're all going to realize, wait a minute, actually, we still have a tour. We're playing for a lot more money. We no longer have this, we no longer have to keep answering questions about us versus them. We can kind of get back to just doing what we do, which is play golf. And I think ultimately, once they paddle out past the break, they're going to be able to sit on their boards and enjoy the scenery.
I agree. Matt Ginella, a golf insider on the Out of Bounds show. Okay. Did you see where Trump called this like a year ago, Matt?
You could say a lot of things about Donald Trump, but from time to time he's right. And he was right about this. And you can and again, say whatever you want about Trump, but like pointing out the hypocrisies of, like you said, the federal government and all these big businesses that already have business with Saudi Arabia. And you're talking about a guy like a Jimmy Dunn, who literally almost lost his entire company in 9/11, as one of the guys who's sitting down and making this deal with Saudi Arabia. So if he can do that, if he can do that and make this business decision based on what's right for the future of whatever we want to call this forward tour, I defer to him on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't know how many there are to date. You probably do off the top of your head, but let's just say there's 44 tour dates, PGA tour dates. Now with more money, do you still see a scaled back, like only under 40 or around 35, Ginella?
Yeah.
How do you see this?
I think it's more like 30.
Okay.
And again, I think now it's like, where do we go from? There's been just so much miscommunication, misinformation. A lot of the tournament directors and sponsors have been, told last minute. I mean, I think you had this deal done with a select number of people, and now it's rippling out to, like I said, players, agents, sponsors, tournament directors, everybody's going to have to try to figure out where they fit into this new future. If the deal can actually get done and approved. So, I mean, it's not a snap of a fingers and a flick of a light switch and everything's good again, or everything's going to be normal and positive. I think there's going to be, and that's why I think that's part of what the shock factor is here, Bo, is that this happened now between, the two majors are in the books of the players, and we got two more majors coming up with the Ryder Cup. Right now is when they pulled the pin. And I just, that to me is the most shocking part. It's not shocking to me that they ended up having to figure out a way to coexist. It's just shocking that it happened right now.
All right, we'll leave it there. Matt Ginella, the firepitcollective.com, joining us on the Out of Bounds Show podcast, video, traveling the world. And he and his colleagues are all into this, and it's wild. All right, well, hey, we got it's right up the road from you, right? You're in San Diego, and the U.S. Open is in L.A., so are you going to be there next week?
I will, and Shipnuck and Bamberger will be there as well, and it should be a great event. It's amazing, and I like Max Homa to win. I think he's an LA guy, and he loves the golf course, and I like Max Homa.
Okay.
I've been keeping him back in my fantasy league just specifically for this week. So. Oh,
and hey, this is going to help. This is going to elevate. It's already elevating, as you know, or increasing. But betting on golf, which is actually good for the game. But sports betting, which is a huge piece of the puzzle on our show, and of course we've got sports books and casinos all around us. But when you bring the better players back in, it makes people, it gets them more engaged and so on. All right, bud. Yeah. Well, look, thanks for the time. I tell you this every time. I know you get a kick out of it. I never thought that I would listen to a golf podcast. Okay. I mean, I love you, but the fact that I got up this morning and started heading to the studio and click boom on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever, of you and Shipnuck, and nerded out for over an hour, listening to you and, is it Bamberger? That guy's funny, man. He's intense about this thing.
Yeah.
Is something that I never thought I would do, but I'm in. So there you go. Have a great week. I hope you enjoyed the U.S. Open in L.A., and thanks so much for your time early in the morning, my man.
Appreciate you, Bo. Always good to catch up, bud. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Matt Ginella joining us on the Out of Bounds Show, the firepitcollective.com, and Sports Illustrated and Golf Digest and the Golf Channel and all that kind of good stuff. And now they have created their own company, multimedia, golf entertainment, travel, all that stuff. And good dude. He has spent some time in the state of Mississippi, too, playing Annandale, and I think he's played Dancing Rabbit, too. Joining us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Blake, let's go 2 lunches today, depending on where you are in the metro. We'll go the Ribs at Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. The Ribs. Yeah. Or that pulled pork sandwich. The Ribs or pulled pork sandwich at the Market Cafe, Fleetway Market in Gluckstadt. Or Fondren, the Catfish Reuben at Highball. Highball Lanes, Highball. And yes, they have Patron Silver. And you can order a Patron grapefruit and a little lime. Enjoy your Wednesday. Also hit Mudbug. See you tomorrow.